Hello. Hello, Cancer. Oh my goodness, y'all. This has been an interesting ride through your energy just now, getting ready for this reading. If I can really quick grab your attention to pull you in for a couple announcements. The first announcement is that I am shifting gears indefinitely. I will only be reading for zodiacs on this channel, and also only messages from spirit. I will not be doing no contact readings or peeking into connections in that nature. However, the zodiac readings will actually have spaces for singles and those in connections in terms of love. But the meat and potatoes of your reading is actually going to be about you, baby. The second announcement is that if you would like to interact with me on a more personal level or follow my personal journey or my writing, I have linked now in the description box the Instagram for my personal account, which is it's like a personal creator account anyway, where I'm chronicling the last 6 years of my life, journaling and teaching myself cognitive behavioral therapy through toxic situations and early childhood trauma. So I have reframed and done the framework mostly. I mean, sometimes things do come up that are deeply rooted within us, and I have tools and methods to work through those that I think that are really beneficial, especially from somebody who has experienced some of the things that many people that tap into these readings have also experienced, and isn't coming from a place of just certain backgrounds or degrees that kind of interfere with the empathetic side of things. So if you would like to follow me there, you can check that out in the description box as well. Okay, Cancer. Not funny, this is the wrong word. The interesting thing is that when I was actually reading for Gemini, I knew that you were next, and I felt like it was going to be such a different reading, that I was going to be sitting down and just like sitting in a moment with you, because the Cancer energy is just a little bit more, what do I want to say? It's deeper, but there's just a lot of emotions that exist in the Cancer space. So here's the songs that came out for you. The first song right off the bat when I was tapping into your energy was Beggar's Song by Matt Mason. It's the line that I pulled out was, "I'll be damned if I let it get me down." The second song that came out was "Oh Sailor" by Fiona Apple. This song is like, it starts out and it's like, I'm undecided about you again. But it's like, the main chorus of the song is like, "Oh sailor, why'd you do it?" So it's like, it's weird because the duality of these songs is like, this one's coming from a place of being sort of the projector of something that caused a situation, and then on the other side of this, it's like being on the receiving end of a situation. And then oddly enough, like what came out at the end and what I actually pulled all your cards through was the song "Congratulations" by Post Malone. And the part in the song that really like got me motivated into your reading was actually like, "If you fuck with winning, put your lighters in the sky," which it goes like, "If you fuck with winning, put your lighters in the sky." You know that part, right? Okay. So those are your songs if you want to look those up and listen to them. Now, let's go ahead and get into your reading. There's a couple things that I feel like is just kind of like conducive of the energy existing in this space, that I feel like A, you have a little bit of conflict going on around you, and B, it's divinely guided, and that there's some sort of message existing in the month of September for you, or even if you're just tapping into this reading at a different time. But this is specifically for this month or the month ahead of us. I would argue that some of you are probably already in this energy in this moment. So we're going to start actually over here in this corner here with your spirit cards. The thing that I feel is the bigger theme here is that there is something being delivered to you in terms of a growth and a period of growth that is sort of being provided to you. Now, what's interesting is that I have sort of considered that the word for the month of September for everyone has been surrender. Now, the interesting thing about surrender that I have discussed before, I discussed in, I believe, the Aries reading, was that the way that divine intervention works is that once you stop dwelling on something and you send it out into the universe, that allows the space to manifest and reciprocate back to us. If we do not, however, learn the lesson, and we're in a space in which we are repeating cycles, we're operating the same way and expecting different results, then that's when divine intervention comes in. And this can feel quite, well, chaotic. Ultimately, I do feel like this is sort of the underbelly, the undercurrent of emotions that you have going on surrounding a situation in the month of September. And I do feel like you are isolating a little bit in this moment and going within. Many of you could even operate within the, hang on a second here. How is it? Oh, I saw an infiltrator. I swear. I saw a fly. Many of you could operate from the space of really feeling misunderstood, but more so it's like it's kind of being in a position that is not feeling like everybody else. It's kind of like being in your own domain or your own space or your own perspective of the things around you, your own way of operating. Cancer energy, I would argue, exists in that space often even. I would imagine that some of the elements that exist within that energy are difficult for us to cope with at times. This seems like an sort of a, oh gosh, why can't I even, I mean, it's kind of like a snowball. I'm sort of seeing a snowball running down a mountain, but that's not exactly where I was going with this. But this energy that you've been in, first of all, I want to say that I feel like this is occurring primarily in the 5D. So this energy is in the mind, right? Where it's just this overthinking, overanalyzing, separates the body from the mind. That's Tool. But it is like this being up in our heads, right? About situations that we find ourselves in, even our own behaviors within environments, just the things that we were sort of been placed in the space of enduring. And these things have been given root to expand around us or expand within us, right? And I think that what's coming in is sort of a shift in that perspective and an awareness that much of what we're experiencing is sort of being manifested through us, through our primary thoughts and feelings and the things that we are either overthinking or even avoiding, some aspect, some element of being allowing a surrender to occur is letting go of these limiting beliefs and patterns, right? And so this is essentially a part of that surrender. And if we don't surrender, you know, the universe comes in and it's like, I don't know how else to deliver this lesson to you. This is a message here, right? It's like, okay, like, I guess we're gonna just have to come in with a little bit of a butt whooping. And so interesting that you have this message card coming out from the Gabrielle Bernstein, The Universe Has Your Back deck, which says, true healing occurs when I give myself permission to feel whatever feelings live below the triggers. And triggers are that, right? I just so we're on board, I do not like that word. I don't like buzzwords surrounding our mental health, especially something like trigger, because it makes it seem like it's a bad thing to feel or to have a response system to experiences that we didn't deserve. You know what I mean? Trigger. I hate that word. Sorry. Sorry, Cancer. And this might be a little bit of your energy looming in too. Right before I picked up this card, I felt a lot of energy in my crown chakra, just in talking about this energy that you're in and this experience. So I do feel like this is like a period of downloading and a period of somewhat forced surrender. I don't think this is so much of a choice. You know, I don't think we're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to surrender this up and offer this up to the universe, and then whatever is given back to me, I'm going to be in this reciprocal state. It feels a lot more like a lesson coming in, sort of, really without us really wanting to deal with it, kind of thing. You know, it's more like that. It's definitely a little bit more in that energy. And I think that this is causing some upheaval. But one of the things that I feel like the upheaval is sort of this cycle, like an awareness even, that, okay, like this, here I am again, and I'm in the same exact situation. Like something, obviously there's something connected here, and there is a reason I continue to experience these same things over and over again, right? And this could be actually the thing that you're waking up to in the month of September. That all by itself could be the message being delivered to you is like, hey, in order for us to step outside of a cycle, we have to behave in a way that we've never behaved before. We have to do things in a way that we haven't done them before. If we're doing things in the exact same way, then why would we assume that we would experience a different outcome? And so I think that's sort of the overarching theme for the Cancer energy for the month of September. Or at least as you're tapping into this right now. Hopefully we can get like a trajectory outward that hopefully has an up current for you. Okay. So how we've been running this is we've been doing your message first, followed by the love readings, and then at the very end of this is the self-care message. But before we get into any of the reading, we're actually going to select your self-care message. Okay. And we'll put that face down up in the corner over here that we'll read at the end of your reading. Okay, so let's just go here. Gonna put that lotus flower in the upright position because that's the way it belongs, right? Okay, so tapping first here into your individual reading, Cancer. What does Cancer need to know about the month of September? Opening right up, you had the Lovers. You could be dealing with a connection that is, you know, obviously connections are the catalyst for our growth. That could be the space that is, you know, creating this sort of upheaval of emotions. It's possible. My goodness. You could have energy around you sort of distracting you. I swear. Why is this always a thing? Okay. Right, coming out right off the top is that conflict energy, Seven of Swords. This is sort of, I would say that this is reminiscent of all the energy around you. And you sort of being like, I just don't want to deal with that. But I think, okay, hang on one second. Nine of Cups on the bottom of the deck. Ultimately, Cancer, it just seems like there is a lot of commotion going on around you, and you are at the center of it all. Which this is very interesting because you are very close to that Gemini energy, and they had that as well, but sort of on the opposite side of things. A little less like the commotion was an attack, and this is more of an attacking energy. It's sort of like something that you're doing, a decision that you're making, or a state of being, or the way that you are operating is just not in alignment with those around you. And there is this energy that's a little bit conflicting. It's a little bit even suffocating in some way. That could explain that isolating energy, but it's just a lot of chatter that is existing around you, and you're just like, the interesting thing is that the Six of Wands, I would normally see as a much more positive card, where she is just like in her own, like in her element, and she's the chosen one or whatever. But in this energy, it feels a little bit avoidant of the commotion, like not wanting to deal with this situation, not wanting to, it's just like, here we are, we just like want to be free of this situation. We don't want to deal with the conflict around us, and we would much rather be in a space of building our own abundance, looking into our own future, and planning ahead in some way. Getting outside of that energy, getting outside of dealing with this commotion. One element of this could be that could be the cycle for some of you. That it's not going to apply to all of you, but for some of you, that the avoidance space could be the cycle. And so I would really be mindful of that, honestly, and make sure that if there is conflict around us, that we understand why there is conflict around us as well. Let me go ahead and let me look into your outcome card. I did just have this hit that there is a little bit of of feeling quite misunderstood in situations and connections that you find yourself in. Cancer outcome. You could be just going within, and what's interesting is I told you about that crown chakra, right? Is like you could be downloading some information coming in from an external source, from higher learning, essentially coming in and teach you something about self in order for you to raise that the energy inside of you in order to kind of bring that out into the world, because you are here and you're also showing up as the star. It's a very Aquarian energy, right? So flowing kind of with things, and not necessarily being in a space in which it's sort of being in a space that is, instead of focusing on the conflict, it is trying to like find the good in the situation, and then work through it in that way. So some downloading. This could also be for you, Cancer, a moment in which you're just experiencing some sort of lesson, or a message or a lesson is being delivered to you as well through sort of like a higher guidance. Because this high priestess energy is very much about going within, but also it's kind of divinely guided, right? So this is sort of a moment in which we're really trying to, I would say, less about honoring self and more about understanding self, I think would be something that would be existing more so for the Cancer energy, or the intention for the Cancer energy in the month of September is to kind of understand ourselves better so that we can move authentically and move into that authentic space that exists within this star-like energy here, right? So ultimately you are kind of intended to look within to better understand yourself in these situations, okay? Because I don't think that this is something that has occurred more than once, and just kind of knowing a little bit of the Cancer story, or a little bit of, you know, just seeing some of the path, the life paths of some of the Cancers that I have seen, I would argue that's relatively reminiscent of what a lot of Cancers have been going through. And I think it's just I think it is really just about building the awareness of how we operate within the connections that we find ourselves in. I do feel like this is somewhat related to the experiences and connections that we have with those around us and that we have been dealing with for some time. Okay. So let's move into singles. Singles. Okay, I had the Lovers card pop out again. That also popped out. Two of Swords popped out again. That was something that came in the first phase as well. So I do feel like connections are a pretty big thing for you in the month of September. Y'all, I am like totally ADHDing this right now. I have water, coffee, and an energy drink. Oh my goodness. Okay. Single Cancers. Single Cancer. Did I just accidentally say Gemini in your reading? I don't know if I did. I'm sorry if I did. Fool, some kind of risk. Trusting our intuition. Not risk, some sort of leap forward. All right, single Cancers, please. Single Cancers. Oh, this is very interesting. It's very similar to, who else had these? Aries, I think. Six of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck. Four of Wands here too. So here's that divine guidance coming in here with the Hanged Man as well, as that tends to be a divinely guided space. Let's see. You know, this moment that you're in right now, Cancer, it could be just, you know how in the beginning we had that energy of the songs, and then they ended with congratulations, right? And I thought that's a weird like pathway. It goes from these songs that are about essentially betrayal. I mean, that's kind of like how they read, and then ended with congratulations. So for Cancer singles, I do feel like there's something that is taking a bit of courage to work through and to persevere through. Ultimately, it's like an understanding that what we want is essentially equal give and take. That's a given here that we want with this Six of Pentacles. Ten of Pentacles is wanting sort of that ultimate fulfillment in terms of abundance. Now, something that I think could actually be moving in quickly for you in a single space is an opportunity for that equal give and take. And this is sort of something that is divinely guided into a union space. Let's clarify that Strength card actually, though, because it's just not entirely conducive with some of the energy. Strength, Lovers, and the Five of Wands. And then so bottom of the deck is Temperance, which would be an invitation for some patience in a situation that you've been dealing with. It's interesting because this is supposed to be a singles space, but I think that y'all have just might be tapping into this with a connection in mind. Or this is something that is going to be delivered to you. This part of the Strength thing is perhaps you have an energy that you'll be dealing with that has some conflict around them. You know, perhaps that's part of that external conflict. One of the things that was existing in the Gemini energy, and I actually tend to find that those closely on the wheel of zodiac kind of like ride through the tails of the emotional waves, was that there was a lot of people around them looking in on them and observing them. And this could be something that is like, with now it's like you're kind of on the outside, and then there are people around your person or a connection that you are seeking that there's like something, you know, emanating around that person, around, or even around this connection, some sort of a little bit of chaotic energy that is existing around this connection. I would just throwing this out there as in, like, just personal advice, I would be mindful of that. Actually, I would be mindful of situations where there's a whole lot of conflict surrounding an individual. Primarily, I think there's a lot that we end up ignoring in certain spaces as well, not to like plant any seeds or anything, but it just, when I said that, it reminded me of the fact that I had been in a situation with somebody who had just like multiple broken down relationships around them, and somehow I thought that I could trust that person. So I would be very mindful and very patient in this energy, and take those lessons and see what it's teaching you in regards to that Four of Wands energy, because it's very possible these two things might not even be as connected as we think they are, especially if you're in a single space. That means that you are identifying as singles, and that means that you are not actually in a connection. And so if you are in a situation where there's a no contact situation, or there's just something going on within connections around you, be mindful of that. I would be very wary of the spaces in which there is a whole lot of conflict around an individual, right? Also, I feel like there are some of you tapping into this right now that are cross watchers, and you're dealing with a Cancer who is operating in that way. Just want to say that because it just came to me, and so I have to say it. Okay, let's move into connections. And this is like, you're in a connection, you have been dealing with somebody for a while, or there's a relationship on the board. Okay, so this is not identifying as single, but identifying as involved in a connection. And yes, that can be situationships as well. Okay, Emperor coming out. Okay, Cancers who are involved in a situation. Cancers who are involved in a connection. Cancer in connections. Might be doing some reflecting on an energy that is quite stable. Okay. King of Wands. Oh boy. Queen of, wow. That was crazy. Queen of Wands and the King of Wands. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay. And what do we have going on here? One more card, please. Someone's like, oh boy, what do you mean by oh boy? Well, we're going to talk about it. Knight of Cups, Judgment, Three of Wands. Okay, I felt compelled to bring all of those out. King of Wands and the Queen of Wands. This is a connection in which there's a lot of physical chemistry within this connection. There's definitely a physical element. We are basing so much of the emotional chemistry upon the physical aspect of this connection, despite the fact that the emotional side of things is actually, it doesn't compare to the physical aspect of things. The physical connection is much stronger than the emotional connection. Also, I just think it's really important to note that within this connection, there is not communication cards. There are none, actually. So in addition to it being a very physical connection, there's not a whole lot of communicating with one another in a way that is conducive of healthy communication. Or healthy communication. It's just that we're not communicating with one another, in a way that feels as though we're both being understood, right? Okay. Moving in quickly is some element of karma, actually. When you have the Judgment card coming in and underneath, excuse me, the Chariot. Now, karma exists in two separate spaces. There is good karma and there is bad karma. So kind of knowing your individual situation will allow you to look into the pathway ahead. Ultimately, one thing that you are sort of walking away from in this connection is this lack of emotional, this sort of, I wouldn't necessarily call it emotional immaturity, but there is not, there is intention for emotion. I feel like the intention is like there, but it's just not, there's just an imbalance within this for at least one of the people within this connection. So one person is in awareness that they are just, it's not necessarily matching the other energy that is the chemistry, the physical chemistry. It's like we want the communication chemistry and the emotional chemistry and the what do I want to say here? Like the abundant chemistry or the stability to be in unison. We want all of the things. We don't want just a connection in which it's, oh, okay, great, we have this connection in which we're really good in bed. Well, that's not going to help us to manifest a whole lot in life, except for, children, perhaps. Like that's one thing that can come from that. But we need to have more than that in order to build upon the foundations of a solid connection. It can't just be a physical connection. In fact, I would argue that when it is primarily a physical connection, that is really a situation in which we are learning lessons. We are learning a lesson about making sure that we are not just attaching into connections based on physical connection or physical appearance. So how the trajectory is going to go, we'll do an outcome card actually for you, but at the basis of how this is reading is that we are just not interested in or someone within this connection is like this, the lack of, you know, this, I would like this to be a King of Cups. And I would say it's probably the Queen of Wands in this. Now, what I think that the Queen of Wands needs to understand is she is a counterpart. So this is mirroring a little bit. They are operating similarly. But the Queen of Wands is the one sort of wanting, either trying to actually build upon the emotional space within this connection, or wanting to see that transpired. And ultimately then being in this position of looking out into the future, sort of, okay, there's an imbalance here that's not necessarily working in this connection. So we have to figure out a way out of that. Or we have to figure out a way in which we are now, you know, perhaps moving into where it's the Emperor and the Empress. Like we want to have all of the things here, right? And then on the bottom of the deck here as well, you do have the Eight of Cups. This is like walking away from that which is no longer serving us. It doesn't necessarily mean an ending or a severing within a connection, but it is walking away from patterns of behavior too that are no longer serving us, and wanting to be in a more fulfilling state. So we know that following the Eight of Cups is the Nine of Cups and the Ten of Cups energy, right? So when we walk away from all of this behind us, we're really walking towards the, you know, the future that we really would prefer to have within connections. Let's get you an outcome card for this connection. Clarify the Devil. It's like, I knew you were going to say that. One more actually to clarify the Devil. Okay. Communication definitely is something that just like really needs to happen in this space. Someone in this connection is, well, here's the thing, is like we could be in a space of walking away from this type of energy, or this type of energy is walking away. Typically, I would say that when a person is operating in this energy, where this is all kind of existing here, they tend to be sort of manipulating the space around them a little bit. And perhaps this is that energy around this person, right? Someone in this connection has a lot of energy around them that is conflicting, right? And here we have like, it's just very isolating. It's very, there's a whole lot going on. Seven of Cups is, you know, often about options, opportunities, but can also be an indicator of just like too much going on. And then you have this energy. This is actually Capricorn energy, is the Devil energy, and I know that this is a Gemini reading, but if you are dealing with a Capricorn, that's a quite, you know, a possibility here. But someone within this connection is sort of in a space of arguably, I would say just operating. I feel like someone knows better, okay? If it's going to go down, you know, get down to that, I just feel like there is someone who has all this going on around them. I mentioned in the singles reading too, to be really mindful of energies that have a whole lot of like broken down relationships around them. That is not without purpose. There is a reason for that, and that person typically does have you know, has played some sort of role in that, unless it's very apparent that they have not. And it's quite possible that if there's somebody that has like, you know, a whole bunch of stuff going on around them that is like all broken down, and it's multiple relationships with multiple people, then the, you know, the common denominator is often this person, right? Whereas like if you have someone that is going through something, but they have like such a clear support system around them, right? Like have like so many people around them supporting them and being encouraging, and all of those are like long-standing relationships, then that's the indicator that someone is actually going through something and as on the receiving end of something that they maybe didn't deserve. An indicator that someone could potentially be a part of the problem is when they have so many broken relationships around them and almost no support, right? So that's a good way of being able to kind of see into, you know, I guess, who could be potentially problematic. Okay, so I don't honestly know like the outcome here so much as I think that it's just a space of really understanding that we have to move into a space where we're operating from more than just this, right? More than just being a physical connection. Okay. All right, Cancer. Let me go ahead and get you your self-care reading. You have authentic strength. I find strength in vulnerability. It's a big one. I am honest with people I trust. My struggles are opportunities for growth. I am authentically alive. It's very interesting because the energy that exists in that devil space in the previous reading with the connections is actually relatively conducive of someone who has such a disconnect with the ability to trust others, specifically within their vulnerability. So it's very very interesting, honestly, that's sort of the energy. So it kind of depends on where you sit in this, but I think that being in a space in which you are honoring your feelings and how you're feeling in this situation and understanding that your feelings are valid, Cancer, is very important. But also moving in a space where you can find someone that you can trust to sort of let that out for you. Now, obviously, there are resources too where you can, there are people that it's literally their job for you to just dump every little thought inside your head. Here we go, like that emotional overflowing, right? For some of you, I think that it could honestly be, for a few of you Cancers, you could be the one sort of in a space of really holding yourself back from trusting the people around you or the situations that you find yourself in and kind of going within it. Okay. One self-care message for Cancer, please. 3? Okay, we're going to do 3 for you, baby, okay? We have, I'm only reading these upright. There's the 8 of Pentacles and the 7 of Pentacles, Page of Wands. I feel like something that we're going to become aware of is this need to work on sort of I would say ourselves. Honestly, I think it would be in a space of having sort of a little bit more passion within self. I think right now the passion that we have for ourselves, or even the passion that we're experiencing for things like outside of physical things, right? Passion for life, passion for building upon our own future, passionate for knowledge even. You could have just been in a space for some time, Cancer, where you've been really dealing with connections, and this has sort of acted as a distraction from the growth that is perhaps like maybe needed within self, or that we would prefer to ignite within ourselves, right? And now is sort of that moment to kind of take that step back and look inside self, and then build upon that which you truly want in the world around you. Again, like I said, that I think that surrender is a space for many of the zodiacs in the month of September, and I think that is existing here as well for you, is to understand that when we are in a space of dwelling and overthinking, we are essentially manifesting. And the moment that we stop dwelling, well, all of that energy has to go somewhere, right? So it gets sent out and then it comes back to us, and we're essentially receiving that which we spent the most time on. So being very, very mindful of the things that are going on within the mind, right? Because there was that snowball in the beginning of your reading, and if we allow it to, we can let something fester into the point of manifestation. And some of this is some of this is even deeper than this. Some of this is rooted within our belief that we are enough in some situations. That is something that comes in as well. And Cancer, you exist in so many emotions. A lot of empathy exists within the Cancer energy, and understanding too that what the emotions that we were feeling, and what emotions we can inadvertently become wrapped up in or find ourselves imbalanced in. We could actually spend a lot of time feeling really like, we can spend a lot of time operating from emotions that don't feel as great, and then end up in those scenarios. This is really a moment and a time for you to understand yourself and what is going on around you, and the why that it is occurring. Why is important for you, Cancer, in the month of September, is really understanding why are you in these dynamics. Because again, this is something that you have been through before, or you were at least waking up to the reality that you have experienced this before, and now it's kind of in a space of going, okay, so awareness is half the battle. Now you have awareness of it. What are we going to do about it? Why is it here? And what steps can you make to shift the trajectory of the experiences around you? One aspect of that is really being honest with yourself and getting very vulnerable with truth, right? Okay. All right, Cancer. Remember that energy shifts in a nanosecond. This just could be the moment in which you are tapping into this. I'll be doing more readings than just this for the Cancer energy in the month of September. So I hope that you move into an up current following when you tap into this reading. Thank you so much for being here, Cancer. If you enjoyed this reading, please like and subscribe to my channel. Liking the video really helps tremendously, as well as comments. If you have a moment to provide that for me, I would so appreciate it. Thank you again so much for being here, Cancer. Enjoy the rest of your day. Mwah.